Well, this national registry, I think it's been long overdue, and we're really a country that's behind in that scene. Many countries do have it, and they're experiencing a lot of success in organ donations. And what that would entail would be that at present, we have this scenario where even though you do sign your donor card, most of the time that wish is getting vetoed. And the reason why is because the hospital officials have to approach the family for the final decision. And what a time to approach the family at a time of tragedy.
I understand that you have a meeting with Premier Harris in November.
Yes, it's presently getting scheduled. We're in the process of scheduling it.
And you're going national too. You're going to do something at the House of Commons. And
Yes.
You're inviting the House of Commons and the province to get behind your project.
Yes, absolutely. We're definitely going to need their support on this. And this will be part of our scenario when I'm doing the walk across Canada in May of 2000. I'm not finished yet with this.
Well, George, can I just blow your horn, toot your horn a little bit? But in Windsor on Friday, September 17th, the day was called officially George Marcello Day by the mayor.
Yes.
So this is a big deal. You've gotten a lot of attention. You've certainly achieved your goal. You've achieved organ donation awareness throughout Ontario. So congratulations. You have lots of work yet to do.
So you're the example of a man who has had a liver transplant, and you're just as good as new, right?
Absolutely. I'm not the, but I'm not the exception here. That's the other thing I wanted to point out. There's many recipients that.
And I would like to start by introducing somebody who needs no introduction, Mr. George Marcello, who would like to share a bit of his story with us and to talk about the importance of an opt-out system for organ donations.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you, France, for having me here to speak this morning. I'm here today to actually talk about something slightly different, which is the soft opt-out bill, and make a desperate and passionate plea to Premier Ford and his members. I also hope that we can establish a strong partnership with our healthcare workers in Ontario. Many of the media and three levels of government know me. I've been around. However, due to serious health problems, I have been bedridden for the past 5 years and away from the media limelight. I need first to share my background in case anyone doesn't know of my credentials. Over the past 25 years, I have appeared in over a dozen times in this room and in this seat, trying to improve organ donations through education and adding new policies. Mostly it's been the opt-out system. And we did this through our multiple campaigns. Since 1996, our charity, Step by Step, created high-profile campaigns and hundreds of projects. We brought awareness in almost 1,000 cities and towns in Canada and the rest of the world, and inspired thousands of media stories. We created media stories nationally and globally. In 1999, we convinced Premier Harris and his government to allocate $120 million towards organ donation. From 1997 to 2002, we helped change the world perception that organ transplants were a cure and not voodoo medicine. People didn't know about the anti-rejection drug, the newly cyclosporin that came out at that time. Being a transplant recipient, I walked a marathon a day for 769 days across Canada, and it totaled 12,000 kilometers. We inspired over a million people to carry this famous torch of life. Thank you. And just to let you know, and I think you know already, Saint Pope John Paul II had blessed that torch, and proclaimed that organ donation was a genuine act of love, and encouraged me to pass the torch to the young people. From 2002 to 2011, I faithfully followed the Pope's words by recruiting over 1,000 students to represent the torch in Canada and the United States. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that in 2011 to 2013, we also recruited world-famous organ donor families from Palestine and Israel and American, and that brought hope to the Middle East. In memory of Ahmed Khatib, Yanni Jessner, and Nicholas Green, these families carried the torch together in Canada. My main focus, of course, over these past 25 years was to have Ontario adopt the opt-out system. Earlier this year, our cousins in the UK passed the soft opt-out system through a conservative government. I had an awakening when I heard about this, and at the same time I heard that Madame Jelena was submitting her opt-out bill in memory of my hero, Peter Kormos. I commended Madame for the bill, but in all honesty, I think it's going to be difficult to get the opt-out as it is through a conservative government, and that's why the UK government, the UK people added that revision for soft opt-out so that the conservative government would pass it. And I know that this conservative government will pass it because I know what runs through their soul. I have many friends in the conservative government. I'm a registered Ontario PC member, and I know if they give me a chance to talk to them that I'll be able to convince some of them. And to Premier Ford, I hope you will talk to me and see why your PC cousins in the UK supported the soft opt bill. I also want to prove that by incorporating this bill, it will dramatically increase organ donations and reform our healthcare dollars. I've been on dialysis now for 18 months, and 4 transplants could have been done while I've been on dialysis. That's the cost that could be saved. So it would make a big difference. I am dying right now. I say that because I know I don't have that much time left to live unless I receive a kidney transplant. Whatever time I have left, I'm going to devote it to trying to get meetings with the PC government so that they can adopt this bill. So please give me a chance, Premier Ford. Go to my website and you can see all the details on how the UK created their soft opt-out system. And let's save more lives. God bless Ontario. God bless Canada.
Tell me, what would the Ford government approving this bill mean to you? Do you think you would get the transplant you so sorely need if they did approve this bill?
The chances of me getting that kidney would soar, and it brings a much more bigger feeling of hope. Of course, there's no guarantee because not everyone, even with the bill in place, is going to get their gift. But the chances would increase considerably. But I also wanted to add something to your earlier question, because those are the same talking points. Promote more education that has been used time and time and time again for 25 years. How many people have to die, before they get it? That's what's at stake here is whether do we really want to save lives or don't we?
What do you want to say to Premier Ford today?
I'm going to talk like he talks to other people. I'm going to be straight with him. I knew his brother well, and would he treat his brother like this? I'm gonna he knows that's why I said I know what runs in a conservative soul. You got to be straight. You don't hide anything. You don't just be straight with him. And I'm going to tell him, why do you think your UK cousins accepted this? And why would have you prevented it in the first place? Were you that afraid that the public wasn't going to like this? That's not the case anymore. So what's stopping you from saving more lives? So I'm very, like, with whatever time I have left, I'm very, to get around to the Premier. I'm hoping that you guys can help me to get this message to him that I need to talk to him. Otherwise, I'm going to get sloughed off.
Next summer, Nova Scotia is going to become the first jurisdiction in North America to adopt presumed consent for organ donation.
And with some 300 Ontario residents dying each year waiting for organ transplants, people are calling for changes to the organ donor system. Our health reporter Pauline Chan has more.
Double liver transplant recipient George Marcello is now searching for a kidney donor. Years of anti-rejection drugs have taken a toll on his own.
When I got my transplant in 1995, just prior to that, I was looking into why Canada had a shortage. And I seen the model that Spain was using, and that they were getting ahead of everybody else in donations.
That model is called presumed consent, in which residents are presumed to have consented to be potential organ donors. They must actively opt out if they do not wish to be donors. NDP health critic France Gélinas is proposing that Ontario also adopt presumed consent to help the 1,600 people currently on organ waiting lists.
85% of Ontarians want to be organ donors, but only 34% opt in.
She calls the system that she's putting forward a soft opt-out because people will have numerous opportunities to pull out of the registry if they wish. Opting out of a system with presumed consent can be done anytime you renew your driver's license or your health card, even up to the time of death. Marcello, who's been championing presumed consent since his first liver transplant, says Ontarians should not be afraid that doctors will take organs from unconsenting patients.
Once there's no more option to save them, then that's when they can talk about organ donation. There has been nothing in our history that showed otherwise.
But the Trillium Gift of Life Network, which runs Ontario's organ donor registry, says there has been no clear evidence to support the assumption that presumed consent increases the number of organ donors. Nova Scotia will implement presumed consent next summer. Gélinas hopes Ontario will become the second province to do so. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Ends September 30th in Toronto, after which he'll meet ends September 30th in Toronto, after which he'll meet Premier Mike Harris.
There's talk about me being acknowledged at the throne speech on the 21st, and having an audience with him soon after my walk is finished. And we're going to tell him I'm going to give him my report. We got a really good feeling we're going to get his.
And that's why I'm happy to see George working so hard to raise awareness. Like me, thousands of people across Ontario were inspired by George Marcello and the whole step-by-step team as he walked across the province. And that's why I invited George to join me in the legislature for the throne speech, our inaugural throne speech this session. We announced the advisory committee to raise awareness with George's help, and we asked Don Cherry to be honorary chair of that advisory committee. George's Ontario Walk was an unqualified success, helping thousands of people to choose to sign for organ donation, and I know he can do the same through the Cross Canada Walk. In closing, George, I believe I can speak for everyone here today in wishing you the best of luck as you embark on your coast-to-coast journey, and I can assure you you have my support and our government's support, and any support that I can bring. I'll be meeting, in fact, with the premiers from across the country early in February, and I'll enlist support from them, so you have a friendly reception as you go from border to border across this country.
Members of the Legislative Assembly, invited guests, fellow citizens, welcome to the 37th Parliament of the Province of Ontario. George Marcello waited years for a donor before his life-saving transplant in 1995. This year, he walked across Ontario to increase awareness of organ donation. In response to Mr. Marcello's mission, and on behalf of the people of Ontario, Premier Harris has accepted as a Millennium Challenge the goal of doubling the organ donation rate by 2005.
I know George is tied up, but I just want to add, on behalf of the legislature, our respect for what's being done here today. We've got an individual showing what one person can do, and in George's case, he's already shown what one person has already done. I mean, George has worn out more pairs of shoes than most of us will wear in a lifetime, and I think in the most genuine way possible, one person is going to put that fact step by step all the way around Canada, and I'm very, very proud to have George as a member of our riding, somebody who's already done what he's done, and just as a real, decent human being. He's not glorifying himself, he's not making himself out to be a hero, he's not saying he's perfect, he's just saying this is something that needs to be done, and he's the guy that's going to do it. And I think it's an appropriate thing that he's here at the legislature to get some respect from the people that really need to see this done. We've been flummoxed how to get organ donations to take place, and here's one guy with the support from a lot of people, we hope, around the province, who's going to show us how it does get done.
We bring you the story of George Marcello's journey across Canada. For the last 250 days, George has been on the road telling Canadians about the shortage of organ donations and the vital need for a national donor registry.
Actually, today is day 252.
When you're sorting in the neighborhood.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You know, as Mr. Rock has mentioned, he's been following my campaign, and you know, he was hearing what I was saying.
Of a donated organ, whose life was renewed as a result, and has been spending the last few months walking across the country, carrying a torch, talking to families and Canadians along the way, bringing home the point that we should all be aware of the importance of organ donation. George Marcello, congratulations and thank you for what you've done.
Thank you, George.
It's 10:15 here in our studio in Vatican City. I'm Laura Angela Bagneto. I'm sitting next to a man who has crossed one of the world's longest land masses on foot. Before I introduce him, let me give some background to his Herculean effort.
Thanks, George, and good morning, everybody. I'm involved because I care. I am a past member of the government that, in fact, funded the Ontario Trillium Gift of Life Network to the tune of $120 million. In 1999, Premier of the day, Premier Harris, made that commitment to Ontarians to move forward on the issue. It was because of George's work that, in fact, that fund was set up. It was introduced in a throne speech, and work began. It wasn't until the
Today's, I have a pretty desperate announcement. 52-year-old Susie Kind is presently in a Toronto hospital, and she desperately needs a liver transplant. Her condition is very critical, and I'm afraid if she doesn't get her liver soon, she's going to pass away. And we're going to do everything we can to bring attention and hopefully give this mother a fighting chance to survive.
After 9 years, 15,000 kilometers, 500 communities, 4,000 events, many media stories, and even a second liver transplant, George has been relentless in helping raise Canada's poor rate of organ and tissue donations. His ultimate goal is to see Canada save everyone. Over 4,000 Canadians that need these life-saving gifts. George Marcello will undertake his campaign called SOS 4000, one more time, with a little help from my friends. Mr. Speaker, let us all wish George luck and success in his quest to bring this perennially important issue to the attention of all Canadians.
Honorable member for Hamilton East, Stony.
Un attimo e ha offerto il suo.
My daughter has been sick with kidney disease since 1996. We were advised by doctors that it would be in her best interest to get a kidney donation, but the waiting list is pretty long.
A man who has devoted years of his life promoting organ donation is about to pay a high price for his work. George Marcello has been paying for his latest campaign out of his own pocket, and he's now on the verge of losing his house. Here's Sean Mallon now with a story you'll only see on Global.
For 10 years since he received his first liver transplant, George Marcello has been on a marathon campaign to promote organ donation. But now he's hit a financial roadblock.
Right now I need help. I need help now.
There's Marcello just 2 weeks ago with the Premier supporting his latest campaign. But he says the government has turned down all his applications for grants, and he's only been able to garner minimal corporate sponsorship. To keep the campaign going, Marcello put a third mortgage on his own house. He's $50,000 in the hole with no way of paying it back. Foreclosure looms, and he could be losing his home as early as March.
It's kind of depressing and sad, a little bit of anger.
He just cares so deeply, and it's made quite a real difference to a lot of recipients.
Patty Letourneau says Marcello gave her huge moral support as her husband awaited a liver transplant, which came through last fall.
He really needs to get some help in pulling funders to him.
Marcello is asking all three parties at Queen's Park for support in getting him a $50,000 grant to repay him for what he's shelled out, and $50,000 more to allow him to finish the current campaign.
It's sad when you've got budgets of multi-millions of dollars, Ministry of Health, the Trillium Gift of Life Foundation, and we can't find a modest sum to keep George out there on the road where he's most effective.
A spokesperson for the health minister says Marcello is welcome to submit a grant application to the Trillium Gift of Life Foundation. If he does, he could also submit this personal reference, a video from the Premier's own website.
And your efforts since have given more people the second chance at life that you cherish.
Sean Mallon, Global News.
Every day. And so it really is a privilege.
Marcello's organization is a registered charity, and for more information on his work, the website is www.stepbystep.ca.
Ted, always a pleasure to see you, my dear friend.
You're on a mission right now to get so that organ donation becomes an opt-out, meaning that as soon as you're born, you automatically will become an organ donor unless you sign a sheet that says you don't want to do that. And that you figure would what, quadruple the amount of people who are now on the organ donor list?
Well, put it this way, Ted. I was battling and fighting for that back in 1999, and when I convinced Premier Harris to put $120 million into this issue. And if I was in charge of the mandate, which I was promised I would have been, we were supposed to double the rate by 2005, and it would have been doubled, and by now it would have been quadrupled. Ontario, and then Canada would have probably led the world in organ donations. Ted, this is, I can prove every word I'm saying here. Mm-hmm. So, and it's actually a soft opt-out that I've been recently advocating, which the UK passed by a conservative government. They approved and passed it. The soft opt-out is a revision in the opt-out, and it's just slightly different.
In what way? So what does it mean exactly?
Well,
Soft opt-out.
in the opt-out system, you have to actually opt your name out by going online and registering your name out. With the soft opt-out, all you need to do is vocalize it to a family member, saying, shit, I don't want to be on this, excuse my language, Ted. I don't want to be on this opt-out list. And if all of a sudden you died, then your family member, because they're going to get approached, will just have to say, no, he told us he didn't want to be on it. He didn't sign his name out, but he told us.
What's to stop a family member from saying he told us he didn't want to be on it, and you actually did want to be on it?
Because they have to register their name out of it. So if they didn't take those steps, and nobody can do that for you. So if they didn't take those steps, then their name is still on that registry. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So no, there's no way around that. They have to actually vocalize it or take the steps in taking their name out. So I have to let everybody know that this isn't. I understand. I'm a conservative person myself. I'm a PC member of Ontario, and I understand, about having somebody tell me what to do. I don't like anybody telling me what to do or having my name put on anything. So I understand all that. I've been understanding all that for 25 years. What I'm asking people is to make a little sacrifice. Take one for the team. Let's sacrifice that right. For the sake of 4,000 people. They're continuing to die, and we're continuing to have the worst record in the world. And I continue to see this every day, Ted. And they're dying. They're suffering.
But aren't we isn't our record in Ontario, has it not improved? Not drastically.
Those are talking points. And I'll prove, those are talking points, Ted. We've improved shit. We've improved nothing. I'm sorry, Ted. It's just, I'm so wound up. I got 25 years of anger and frustrations over this.
Right.
Those are talking points that they use. And they keep saying, we don't got no proof. There's no evidence that it works. And then the media buys that. They move on, and they don't even question that. Where's your evidence? I have a ton of evidence proving that it works.
You met with 10 ministers in Ottawa.
I didn't. They kicked me out.
They kicked you out.
Lisa MacLeod, my supposedly good friend, who I invited as guest speakers 3 different times, and she loved all those occasions, kicked me out. And this is the day before when I got slugged in the hospital. I was waiting in a dialysis room in the hospital, Ted. Somebody came in with a bike chain wrapped around their fist and sucker punched me when I wasn't looking and almost killed me an inch below my eye and was ready to hit me some more because I seen him wrapping the chain. Had not, there was 25 years of anger why I sprang back on my feet to get back at him. That's the only way I survived this. The next day, I went to Ottawa with a black eye, my face all disfigured, and they kicked me out. They wouldn't let me sit in that meeting.
Okay, for people who would like to get involved in this and would like to sign a card and find out more information about organ donation, where would they go? Where would you send them?
Call me. Now, I don't care.
If they want to go online,
there's no. They can contact Frances Jelinas, MPP Frances Jelinas, because her bill's going to come out again in October. I'm helping her push that bill and make it into a soft opt-out bill. And Ted, I'm not screaming at you. You know I love you, right?
I'm not taking it personally.
Okay, thank you. Because I love you, Ted, and I'm just, you know, I can't stand watching anybody suffer and die one more day and not have this happen. 25 years, and if that's what it takes, whatever it takes. Do you know what I'm saying, Ted?
Yeah.
Like whatever it takes. If I gotta scream, if I gotta do whatever it takes.
All right. So Francis Jelinek, that's the MPP that you should contact. George Marcello.
Or contact your own MPP and tell them that you want this done.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Ted. Love you.
Nice to see you again, my friend.
You too.
Take care of yourself.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. That's going to do it for us for another week. Thanks very much for tuning in. Thank you to Bill and thank you to Joey, and especially for Joey. Because I forgot my glasses at home, so he had to blow up everything. What size font?
He
What
saved
size
me
font
too.
is this? Okay. Okay. It's good. I managed to read my notes properly for the most part. Appreciate that. And thanks to Mike and thanks to Mike. And as I mentioned, don't forget to go online and fill out your organ and tissue donation card. Talk to your MPP about changing the
Soft
rules.
opt-out.
Soft opt-out is what you want to look into. In the meantime, have a great week.
Thanks, Ted.